Now, Hawai'i Football Weekly on ESPNHonolulu.com and the Sideline Hawaii app. Here's Hunter Hughes and Mark Veneri.
Aloha and welcome to another edition of Hawai'i Football Weekly. Aloha, everybody. I'm Mark Veneri with Hunter Hughes. Another opportunity to talk University of Hawaii football, and I can't tell you it's been an exciting, hectic week. Of course, we got New Mexico coming into town, Hunter. I think one of the things that we're looking forward to and really just kind of getting things back to normal, we've been talking about that for quite some time, is having football here at Aloha Stadium, having football against New Mexico here at Aloha Stadium. But more importantly, just kind of regroup, given what has happened and the way we played against Wyoming this past week. Hunter, very excited for this coming week.
Couldn't agree anymore, Mark. It's I'm glad that our boys are finally back on island. We're starting off, kind of with a fresh slate now that we're beginning our home opener this weekend. I saw a great graphic this last week that the last 5 years we are actually 5-0 in our home opening starts. So I'm excited to get football back in the Aloha State, of course, in the Aloha Stadium. This will be Coach Graham and company's first official game in our stadium. And I don't know about you, Mark. I think these guys are just wanting to put last week behind them. I think we're just wanting to move forward.
You know what I think? I think, it's really good, and I think it's a positive, Hunter, and this being more than anybody else being a part of the program, is that after a loss in the way we suffered against the Wyoming this past week, Hunter, just being able to bounce back, coming home, there's no bye week, there's 8 straight weeks, and sometimes the best medicine or the best recipe moving forward is to forget about what happened. You can put Wyoming behind them and move forward to a matchup with New Mexico this weekend.
Absolutely. I think after a big program win, the spirit amongst the team can almost change a little bit, where I don't want to say the guys can get big-headed, but there almost gets this immortal, invincible kind of a feeling amongst the guys at practice, because they really haven't gotten stung yet. And so I never want to say that a loss is a good thing, but in some ways it can humble your team and force them to look inwardly and, make them kind of come closer together as a squad. So, I look at, a definitive loss against Wyoming this last week as that for our bows, as, a learning experience, definitely, but, something to build off of as we continue into conference play.
And I think one of the things, and we're going to dissect everything this past week's game with Wyoming, offensively, defensively, because there is a lot of questions. There's a lot of things that we can dissect, things that we have seen. I think I want to reiterate a point from last week in which we talked about, Hunter, was the fact that this team, keep in mind, I'm going to keep this to our listeners, and I'm going to say it over and over again. This is a free year for the University of Hawaii football program. Right. This is an opportunity for us to build the program. Remember, everybody can return next year because of the fact that the rules by the NCAA, it allows this team to come back in full strength. Same whatever it may be, red shirt, freshman, senior, junior, sophomore, whatever you want to call it. So there is going to be growing pains. And I think this is an opportunity to get out the kinks, but also understand, there's also a sense of urgency too, given that the upward trend in the last couple of years of being 18-11 the last 29 games, there's an expectation to win.
No, absolutely. I don't think it's ever an easy job for a brand new head coach starting at a new football program, especially after the last few years that we've had as a program at UH. I mean, Rolo had, I believe, 3 bowl appearances and 2 wins in the 4 years that he was here, which is just staggering. And so, I looked at this last week, and I couldn't agree anymore. As this is a free year for the guys. I look at someone like Eugene Ford, a senior DB for us. I mentioned it last week. One of our leaders He went down this week with a lower leg injury and looking like
he's out for the year. He's out for the year. Yep.
Yeah, he's down, which is definitely a loss for us on the field, but definitely from a morale standpoint, it's a blow. You know, I actually messaged him earlier in the week, just trying to encourage him, keep him up. That thankfully it's, you know, this year is a freebie. You know, you get great experience, great film, you know, against Division I talent. You know, for a lot of these guys trying to go to the next level, but keep your head up. There is a future around the corner in a sense. But yeah, I don't want to look past our next 6 games, because we have an opportunity here with what we showed in week 1 and the talent that we still have on the team to win now.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, Hunter. I think there's going to be a lot of talk, given I mentioned this on the Sports Fix with RJ Hollis, your former teammate.
Yep.
We talked about this, that there's a gauntlet in this month. I mean, you really think about it, New Mexico, even being 16-point favorites. We'll talk about New Mexico and how difficult it is to guard the triple option and attack, but also their quarterback being able to throw for over 400 yards as well. You know, there's so many different aspects to look at it. But in the sense, if you look ahead, and you don't ever want to look ahead as a player, but as media members, we can look ahead. Nevada, San Diego State, and Boise State in 3 consecutive weeks is going to be a challenge, and we are going to see how good this team will be in the next couple of weeks. Absolutely.
I mean, 2 out of those 3, if not all 3 of those, you just mentioned as the backbone of the Mountain West, especially for the last 4 or 5 years. I mean, Boise has been king for a long time now. San Diego has been the number 2 right behind them, if not trying to challenge them for the throne every single year. You know, especially after our performance against an 0-1 before we played them Wyoming team. I'm a glass half full guy, Mark, but a lot of the things that we saw this week was concerning. I think that's a political way of putting it. It was not a good day.
It was the nice way to put it. I hear you.
Just because I know how much work goes into preparing for every week, preparing for every opponent. I never want to say the guys didn't, you know, care or gave full effort or anything like that, because I don't believe that's in the heart of any of those guys. They tried their best, but from just a holistic standpoint, we definitely could have done better.
And that's the thing. And let's dive into it. Wyoming, we know that what happened this past Friday. Hawaii suffers a loss 31-7. Looking at the game, Wyoming controlled most of the clock with almost 40 minutes of time of possession to Hawaii's 19 minutes. If you look at the disparity, it's about 39-19 in time of possession. Wyoming with close to 300 yards rushing on the ground. Hawaii's offense, you could say, was very stagnant. We just could not seem to get a rhythm. Chevan Cordero struggled throwing the football. I don't ever want to put a blame on cold or anything, because I don't know what it's like to throw in the cold weather. But you could see it looked like he was bothered by it. Offensively, there were some things that could have cleaned up. I think the one positive out of all of this, and we'll talk about a little bit more, Hunter, is the fact that we get to do it over again and clean it up.
Yep.
But even the offensive line, at times, there's a lot of, miscommunication up front, which this is the strength of our unit offensively. So looking at it on the offensive side, Hunter, let's start off with the offensive side. Hawaii almost got to about 200 yards of total offense. That 300-yard attack was nowhere near where it needed to be. Offensively, Chevan Cordero, 1 interception. I think he was about 11 of 23, throwing the ball almost less than 150 through the air, and has yet to throw a touchdown pass this season. What first, Hunter, concerns you offensively, given what we've seen in Fresno State and the transition to this past week against Wyoming? What concerns you about our offense moving forward?
Yeah, it's funny looking at the 2 games. You couldn't have a more opposite result looking at the games offensively. I mean, that week 1 loss, Wyoming gave up a ton of passing yards. I remember you and I talking last week that this was going to be a golden opportunity for us to kind of stretch our legs or our arms, metaphorically, in the air, because I really thought this was going to be our chance to, throw the ball down the field a little bit more. And Chevin only got 26 attempts to throw the ball, which is drastically different than what we were seeing on a week-to-week basis in the last couple of years.
Right.
And it would be one thing if you could say we were getting it done on the ground, but man, we really weren't doing that either. Our offense looked pretty one-dimensional just from what I was able to see. And then on top of that, our offensive line, I love our big boys. They looked overwhelmed. They
Would overwhelm be, sorry to interrupt, but let me, I guess the thing that I want to ask you, because you've been the cadence up front, Hunter, would overwhelmed or maybe the miscommunication? Because I was more on the side of the miscommunication part in the reading up front. Overwhelmed, I could see the adjective of overwhelmed, but I just saw a lot of miscommunication up front. Like I really believe that, with the stunts and twists that Wyoming was doing up front, there was a lot of miscommunication.
Yeah, no, I would have to agree there. I mean, you saw a fair bit of blitz from depth. You did see some switches, some things on the defensive line, and they were not passing those blocks off as best as I know that some of those guys. I mean, we've got some prolific guys on. I mean, Chevin barely got 3 seconds sometimes to deliver the football. So, I mean, anytime that you're being forced to get rid of the ball after your third step, maybe a hitch from a quarterback play standpoint, it's going to be a long night, even if you are delivering perfect passes.
Well, I mean, it's another thing. Excuse me. I think it's another thing too that raises concern for me is that this same offensive unit, this same offensive line, Hunter, produced less than 10 sacks last year. We have 10 sacks through 2 games. So you look at the protection issues. That's where I have to ask. It's is it communication? Is it lack of effort? Is it lack of whatever it may be? I don't think it's a lack of effort, but in terms of the communication up front with guys doubling and whatnot. Remember, with the run and shoot, you understand the pass protections up front. It's a lot of sliding and a lot of guys already upright in the position rather than you got guys down in 3-point stance coming up to pass block. There's just a lot of difference, and maybe I'm just being over hypercritical on it, but I think sometimes we do have to expect that there's going to be some growing pains up front because this is a completely different offense from what we're used to.
Definitely, and from some of the route concepts are similar from what I've seen through 2 games to what we had been doing in the run and shoot. But one of the beautiful things about the run and shoot is that you normally have man beaters and zone beaters in the same play. So if one side is not there, you can quickly get backside to your other options to beat whatever defense you're looking at. And so from a quarterback play standpoint, if you've only got 3 seconds to get rid of the ball, you usually have a man beater on one side to get rid of the ball quickly. I think that's why we didn't see a lot of sacks in the last couple of years, because both Cole and Chevin were getting rid of the ball so quickly. And so I'm not in the QB room right now. I don't know what those guys are communicating to Chevin and the rest of our quarterback depth chart, but in some ways we got to get rid of the ball, even if it's 2 guys and they're contested. At least
did you think we were stretching
to make a play?
Did you think we were stretching the field too much vertically rather than taking a little bit more underneath routes? Looking at the quick game, I didn't see a screen game too much. I just didn't see, offensively, just ball out, quick outs. You're traditional in the run and shoot. You got the double outs. You got the, all Hawaii or all hitches. You would like to see Shevin, and this, and this is kind of just for Shevin too, Hunter being a quarterback. It hasn't seemed in the last two games that Shevin has gotten that rhythm, and really getting going like we're used to seeing. And that's something that I'd like to see more of for Shevin, because we know how good he can be.
Absolutely, and that's a tough one, Mark, because part of me wants to say give him more reps, and we'll see a rhythm get going. But Shevin's had some reps. He's played in a lot of games so far. Not in this offense per se. I want everyone at home listening to understand that. I fully get that. I'm a little biased here. I'm a big fan of giving our passing guys more looks. That's me as a quarterback. That's what I believe we should do, especially if we're not getting it done on the ground. If it ain't working one way, just try something else. And 26 attempts, we got to give him more chances, and he's proven it. So, in my opinion, I think we should be a little bit more courageous. We did have a few attempts down the field, and I would like to say this as well. Though Shevin threw an interception, I'm not a fan of those plays being labeled interceptions. Anybody watching that knows that that's a pretty decently thrown ball, caught by a receiver, juggled, and then the other guy caught it. Ran away.
I'd agree with that. That's sometimes you wish you could take those away, right? As a quarterback, those tips. I think there's a famous line. Coach Arnold Martinez, who listens to, he always says tips and overthrows. We got to get those defensively. So, hats off to Wyoming to get that. And I think, New Mexico is an opportunity to maybe, and I'm sure, there's going to be some heat. JG Klein, he understands. He's coached at the next level. He's played at, at Tulsa. He's played at the Philadelphia Eagles. He understands what it takes to get to that next level and understands the dynamic of the offense. I think creativity, getting playmakers the ball, understanding the offense more. It was tough, to watch, but and this is not an excuse. I hate making excuses, but you know what?
Yeah.
I'm in the media. I can kind of say this. 2 weeks on the mainland in freezing cold, playing in 26-degree weather. You're away from home. You're away from your elements, because normally you don't have 2-week road trips. I think the boys will be revved up and ready to go when they come back home offensively.
I couldn't agree anymore. And I know this is perhaps an obvious thing, but I think it's worth saying that we're 2 weeks on the road during COVID. It's one thing whenever there's extended road trips on the rare occasion for, an outside bowl game or something like that, where normally our director of player operations puts together fun things for the guys to do throughout the week. I can't imagine those guys doing a whole lot more than
there's no fun.
Going to film, going to practice, and then going straight back to the hotel room with their masks on the entire time, which I'm saying that's a good thing, but I'm just, from player's perspective.
From what I understand, they have like you.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Hunter. Yeah, no, go ahead. Sorry.
No, okay. Just from a player's perspective, it's that's a tough environment to be on the road in, and I couldn't agree more. We're back on our home turf, and I know they're going to be representing well at Aloha Stadium this Saturday.
And here's something too. Hey, guess what, guys? Even given the opportunities, given the things that have happened, Hunter, during that game, Hawaii actually had a chance to win that game, regardless of how bad or how dismal the offense was doing. And that's the thing that leads us right into the defense. And talking about the defense, There's different perspectives. I wish I didn't what they call rabbit ears or keyboard typewriter warriors, whatever you want to call it. We know what they call, but you read all the blogs and like, well, the defense, they gave up this, they gave up that. I put a big time out to that because I thought personally, Hunter, the defense played phenomenal. I think the effort and that's what I thought. I watched the game and there was you understand playing the game. I don't care what people say. Being on the field 39 minutes in a football game and having 68 rush attempts on you, and still being able to keep your team on in the game.
Right.
The hats off to the defense. Hats off.
Right. Defenses only will play well if you keep them off the field a certain amount of time. You have to control the clock and control field position as an offense to give your defense a chance to breathe. Sure, people are going to start questioning their conditioning, but big people need rest. I'm just going to say that, okay? Like, if you want big, bad defensive linemen, linebackers, even some of our DBs are bigger, that anybody playing a sport at a high level, which these guys are, they need rest, especially in an environment like they saw at Wyoming, high altitude, cold. That's a tough environment to be, conditioned normally. But you said earlier, Mark, that Wyoming absolutely owned the possession game. And I think in light of that, our defense came out, played with fire. Our boy Darius Muasal had 14 tackles on his own. I mean, just what more can you ask for from a guy like that? Just playing out of his mind. We got a couple of turnovers. We didn't win the turnover ratio because the offense really didn't take care of business that way. But I mean, They played with heart.
And that's the thing that really stood out to me. And they're in the dissecting of the defense, at least on my end, Hunter. There's not really for me much to dissect. I'm sure Coach Todd Graham, and Coach Victor Santa Cruz, Jacob Euro, and the gang, Abraham Elamimi, and they will tell you there's probably a lot to work on. But from the viewership eye and from the eye of someone like myself watching the game, you can teach technique. But I think everyone knows this. You can't teach attitude and effort by this defense. Because look, it was 10-7 at halftime. We got some key stops even in the third quarter. And, when your offense is not moving the ball, I mean, I can only imagine defensively, what's going through your head. It's just, it's tough. There's only a certain amount of stops that you can have during a game that will allow you to, to stay in a football game. And you know what? I think, once again, I thought the defense played pretty well.
Yeah, I agree with that. And especially with a big horse like number 7 that Wyoming had. I think his name is, let me try this, Xavier Valade.
And even number 6 too. I think he's one of the top running backs, I guess, rated in the Mountain West Conference.
Trey Smith.
Trey Smith was fantastic in the game. A very big physical runner. But once again, I mean, you look at that 3 front. We talked about the 3 front, and sometimes I was at the TV. I was like, "Can we get a 4-man defensive line?" But you know what? Hey, we talked about this. We talked about this last week. Coach Graham believes in a system, and that's the thing that I love. He stuck by the system. And there was opportunities for us to make plays defensively. And once again, I think the gap contain. I think there's some tackling things that they can work on, but these are things that they can fix. And that's that's the important thing. I think defensively, there's things that they can fix. And I would see an improvement defensively this coming week against New Mexico.
I think so too. I think we've got a good backbone of leadership on that defense. Jeremiah Pritchard played great again. I love seeing him flying around, making tackles. Panay felt like he had a great game as well.
Blessman to
and then
Allah.
Blessman to Allah. That's another one. Our defense is in good shape. I like what I'm seeing out of these guys. Great effort. If there are corrections, it's probably just little tweaks. It's nothing massive. I didn't see guys get beat down the field from a DB standpoint that was alarming or anything like that. So, which means that communication is good, at least from a DB pass covering standpoint. Coach Abe and Coach Yoro have those guys locked in, and they know what they're looking at. So, that might be a good jump off, into New Mexico, because you have to be locked in whenever you're covering both the triple option and a quarterback that can throw. So I'm eager to see them rise to the task this next week. But above all, our offense has got to do better, Mark.
Yeah, I think you summed it up appropriately. I think, man, the offense, it has to be better. Real quickly before we take a time out, Hunter, you're a quarterback. You understand the looks of Shevin and understanding what he was doing out there. Is there anything that you see out of Shevin, the difference between week 1 and 2, or is this just an anomaly, or there's some things that he needs to work on, moving forward, headed into New Mexico?
Big thing with week 1 that he did so well, and it sounds like a broken record, is this just taking what the defense gives you. So, they dropped back into kind of deeper coverage, and he tucked the ball and ran really effectively. I mean, he almost had, I think he had 115 rushing yards that first week. In a new offense, you're the student again. You're not, a third-year veteran in a run and shoot offense. You have to take what the defense gives you. And I thought, I think he was doing his best, but I think just trust your instincts, which I think that first week was great. This second week was a big learning thing for Shevin. I think he's going to calm down. I expect him to bounce back strong. This is his first loss as a starter, and I know that guy. He's extremely competitive. He's looking forward to coming back and having a strong bounce back this week against New Mexico.
I like it. We got to take a time out. When we come back, we'll get you our player of the week. That's coming up next on Hawai'i Football Weekly. Welcome back to Hawai'i Football Weekly. I'm Mark Veneri along with Hunter Hughes. You can catch all the action of Hawai'i football. We will dissect everything for you right here in our podcast every week. Hawai'i Football Weekly, all Hawaii, dissecting the previous game, also looking ahead, giving you our player of the week. We will have it all for you. Hunter, glad to have you, of course, with you. Glad to have you with us, of course. Excuse me. It's just been fantastic. I think this is some great feedback, though. I've heard some great feedback about the podcast. I'm going to continue. I absolutely enjoy because first and foremost, just a quick synopsis too of for me, Hunter. I pretty much grew up a Hawaii football fan, and just being around it my whole life. My brother John, as you know, played on the Holiday Bowl team in '92, and played in the old turf days of Hawaii football. And I'll still make the argument that the '92 team was
the best ever.
Better than the best ever.
Yeah.
I will make, people are gonna, I get criticism all the time for this, because I know Cole and some of the guys will always tell me, and like, wait a minute, you can't forget the 2006, 2017, man. There's just so much, but I enjoy this. Really glad to be sharing this opportunity with you, and really excited, man. It's fun.
Yeah,
it's fun stuff.
It is, man. I couldn't agree anymore. I didn't grow up out here. I'm a Chicago guy, but being a walk-on, playing out here, just being given an opportunity to come and play at such an amazing place. And I lived and worked out here before I was a player and a student at University of Hawaii, and just seeing the camaraderie and the love and the loyalty of the community and the fan base out here for Hawaii. It was an honor to wear the H on my chest. I wear it with pride everywhere that I go. I love the fact that that I'm a warrior. I'm a warrior for life. It's a strong brotherhood amongst us, and it's a tremendous opportunity even right now that I hold with tremendous gratitude as well, Mark, that we get to talk about our boys, talk about our team. And you and I are the biggest fans, right along with 50-year season ticket holders. I mean, we're wanting our guys to, you know what I mean? Like we're wanting our guys to achieve greatness right now.
Yep. So we will be, for us, we will talk our X's and O's. We'll give you our assessment, and, really just, dissect everything for what we see. And, look, man, we're not putting on the pads anymore. I mean, we're not in the coach's room, or, we can't see everything, but we'll give you a taste of, what this team could do better that we think. And of course, it's all in love and wanting our team and our University of Hawaii football team to succeed. And we always wish continued success. And that brings us to success. Speaking of success, this is a wonderful story. And you talk about local products, because I think having the boys stay home, I think is such a great thing for the university. We talked about Chevin last week being the player of the week. This week, we have Darius Muasau, who's our player of the week. 14 tackles, a tremendous job. And, being a 19, 20-year-old leader on the defense, a sophomore, and he got some playing as a true freshman. This kid, I think, is going to be a very, very special player in years to come for the University of Hawaii.
I couldn't agree anymore. We've already got some leadership, on the defense, but anytime that you can get solid playmakers, even from the underclassmen, and he's a sophomore now, but still hasn't necessarily, been brought into that, upperclassman kind of authority that normally comes on the defensive side of the ball. You kind of have to earn that. Any chance that you can, to have a performance like he did this last week. 14 total tackles, 18 solo, 2 for loss. What more can you ask for from anybody on the defensive side of the football? He's a ball hog. He goes to, wherever the play is at, he wants the action there. And I think that does wonders not only for our team right now, but our teams in the future, because it gives some of the more prolific local talents that are being recruited just the eyes to see, hey, look, one of the guys that was one of the most outstanding high school players a couple of years ago, balling out for UH, wearing the H with pride on his helmet. I think it's one of the biggest misconceptions that people need to leave Hawaii in order to get drafted. 3 years ago, Jelani Tavai got drafted in the second round by the Detroit Lions, and he was a 4-year player for us here at University of Hawaii. Rolo used to say it all the time: if you can play, you're going to get a chance to play. Just plain and simple. If you can play, you're going to get to play at the next level. So I've got, big hopes for a kid like Darius. I hope he gets all the opportunity in the world, especially right now with a free year. This is what, I was talking about, with a tremendous opportunity to just get free game footage of you just balling out. That's a serious stat line to be able to show scouts, recruits, people that want to see if you can do it at the next level. And where other guys may have struggled this week, he came to play, man.
And that's the thing with Darius. He got playing time, as we know, as a true freshman coming from Mililani High School. And having 3 more years that he can play is going to be big. One of the things that I have noticed out of Darius for me is, one, taking on a leadership role, because he is that middle linebacker, and, having the command of the defense, because you can see it on the field, his presence on the field. Even being that young guy that he is, there's some leadership qualities there. And not only is that translating to his play, but it definitely trickles down to his teammates. You see how they gather around him, how they are excited for him when he's on the field. He's kind of got that magnet personality on the field. And if people who know Darius outside of just football, he's one of the most quiet, humble kids that you know. But when he turns on that switch on the field, man, he is an animal on the football field.
Yeah, the animal comes out, man. We got another nickname for guys like that. We call them dogs.
Yup, those are dogs.
A dude. Darius is a dude out there, man. It's not only making hits, but making hits with pop. Telling you from a quarterback perspective, I would not like to get hit by that guy. No chance. He's big, he's strong, and really still kind of maturing and growing into his body. I see him putting on more weight, putting on more strength as the years come. But you can't teach effort, you can't teach skill at this level. You can build on it, but he's got plenty of it, man, with a stat line like that. I mean, hats go off to this guy.
One of the things that really stands out to me, Hunter, and this being, reading defenses and seeing defenses, one of the things that, Darius really worked on that I see just from watching the game is not just being, the middle backer is a misconception of filling holes, right? Guys who are, come in and fill gaps and, fill the stat line with tackles. The one thing that I see out of Darius that he's improved greatly from last year to this year, one is his coverage skills and what they call sideline to sideline, just being able to cover and be playing from sideline to sideline. And he's only going to get faster, bigger, stronger, as you mentioned. But that's one of the key attributes that I've seen out of Darius, his ability to not just be a tackler or a guy who fills gaps, but be a coverage guy, be a guy who can go to the sideline, make a tackle. And those are the things you look for in qualities of a middle linebacker and kind of like that hybrid middle linebacker who can kind of do it all for you defensively.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, the only way that he's able to do that, covering sideline to sideline, is already being in the right position from a defensive standpoint. The only way that you're going to be able to close on a running back or a slot receiver trying to get out into the flat is if you're not being covered interiorly, if that's a word, by the offensive line or by blockers down the field. It just shows that he mentally is there. He understands his role on the defense and where he's supposed to be. And then just lets his athletic ability take over from there. That's where he's able to close. That's where he's able to make those tackles, make those plays. I expect a lot more from him as the season goes on because he is definitely kind of separating himself as one of the leaders of our defense. It's awesome to see.
And to be honest, I know you played with Jelani too. He reminds me of a little bit of Jelani Tavai too as well. I think people who know Jelani, he always had a smile on his face. He always played with effort, tenacity. But he went out there and was kind of a quiet personality, at least from what I saw on the field. But for him. But when he strapped it up and got out there and played, man, he just played with reckless abandon.
Yeah, and it really wasn't until last couple of years of Jelani's career that he became that vocal leader on the field. And I think that comes with just a confidence in yourself, a confidence that the guys around you support you, want to hear your support, want you to be that vocal leader on the field. I think he will grow more into that. But from a playing standpoint, I couldn't agree with you anymore. I love the way that he moves kind of laterally in front of our interior. And he's a closer, man, and he gets his hat on the football. It's great to see.
Hunter, I think you said it perfectly with Darius. I think Darius, the sky's the limit with this kid, and I'm just really, just personally for me, Hunter, I'm excited just being able to see the local talent succeed here locally. Absolutely. I think you brought up a point in the beginning of this segment, Hunter, that Nick Rolovich used to say this all the time, like you mentioned, that you're going to get noticed. Like it really doesn't matter if you're a baller you're gonna ball. You're gonna ball no matter what, and you will be noticed no matter where you go if you're balling out. That's just the name of the game. And Jelani is now one of the up and coming middle linebackers in the NFL, and that's
right.
That's an attribute that Darius I think has. I think he is going to grow and only go up from here. And with his work ethic, I could honestly say this. I think the sky's the limit for Darius.
I agree. And for the recruits that are out there listening to this, to give you a little bit of perspective, in the last I'll stretch it back 4 years till now, we have 5 guys still on active rosters in the NFL. John Ursua is a receiver for the Seahawks. Jelani Tavai, middle linebacker for the Detroit Lions. Rico Sanchez, starting punter for the Indianapolis Colts. Trayvon Henderson is a safety for the Cincinnati Bengals. And then Keith Kirkwood is a starting receiver now for the Carolina Panthers. Before he went to Temple, he was a wide receiver for us under the Chow era. So the misconception that you have to go elsewhere to play to get noticed to hopefully get to the NFL is a lie. If you want to play here, you want to represent our state, our team. Look at this guy right here. Darius Muasau is balled out his absolute freshman year. Come be a part of this. We're building something great, and I just want to encourage you that this is as good of a place as any to come and play football.
Good stuff, Hunter. We got to take a time out. When we come back, we'll talk New Mexico. That's coming up next on the schedule for the University of Hawaii football team. You're listening to Hawai'i Football Weekly on ESPN Honolulu. Welcome back to Hawai'i Football Weekly. I'm Mark Veneri, along with former University of Hawaii quarterback Hunter Hughes. Hunter, of course, the University of Hawaii football team, as we talked about on the program, dropping their game against Wyoming this past Friday, 31-7. They are 1-1 on the year with 6 games remaining on the schedule. Of course, the first game at Aloha Stadium, no fans in attendance. There will be cardboard cutouts available from what I hear. But having a game at Aloha Stadium for the first time this season will be a genuine, sigh of relief for this University of Hawaii football team, being 2 weeks on the mainland and 2 weeks on the road, and then coming back home to play at their home stadium. I know they will be excited to get out and take on New Mexico. They come into this game as 16-point favorites. And, coming in today's game, Hunter, last year, and looking back on last year, Hawaii blitzed New Mexico early in that football game, and New Mexico made a run late in that game and made it very, very interesting. I think it's going to be very, very important, especially with the way New Mexico plays. They run a lot of triple option look. We know they can air it out. They definitely are diverse when it comes to the offensive side of the ball. Playing a team like that can be very tricky for defenses, especially for the University of Hawaii. But heading into this game, I think it's just more important to get Hawaii's head right. And like you said, I think, and RJ has said this too, sometimes you just don't want to play a team coming off a loss. And I'm almost positive that the Hawaii football team is going to come out and put on a good show.
Yes, absolutely. I think, definitely from a defensive side of the football, I already know those guys are angry. They want to go out and hit somebody. My one caution to that sort of feeling is, from, a linebacker's perspective, especially with us running the type of defense that we are, playing against a triple option, you have to be a very disciplined defense. You have to know your assignment and stick to that assignment and trust that everyone around you is doing their 1/11. That was a saying that we used to always say, do your 1/11. Everybody in the field doing their job, because the triple option is versatile. You can do so many things from it, and this quarterback has shown that he can throw the ball down the field as well. So from a defensive perspective, it's going to be an interesting one to watch. And from the offensive side of the football, like come to play, guys. We want to see some points. We want to see some action. Let's see the ball get thrown down the field a little bit. That I know that our receivers are just begging for it to start happening, because we've got a very talented receiving core. And we jumped on these guys big and early last year. So, and if that does happen again, don't let off the gas pedal. Don't let them give them any room to breathe. Let's get on top of them early and not let them back into the game.
Let's start off on the offensive side of the ball, at least for the University of Hawaii. What are some of the keys that you're going to be looking for against New Mexico, in tonight's game? What are some of the keys, Hunter, that you're going to be expecting out of this University of Hawaii football squad?
First and foremost, we gotta take care of the football. I already mentioned earlier in the show that I didn't necessarily agree that Chevin's interception should be labeled a pick, because it was caught for a millisecond. But still, we gave up the football twice and had a fumble that was recovered by us as well. We got to take care of the football, and then it starts from the offensive line. We got to get a solid push. From there, from the way that I've watched how Coach Graham crafts his offense, the pass is a byproduct of the run. The run opens up the pass. They bring in some different looks with the Wildcat, some other things like that. In order for that to be successful, our offensive line has to get a big push. And then from there, I think it's just a free pass for Chevin to do what he has shown that he can do, and that's throw the football across the field. Again, with the offensive line, it will create a little bit more time for him in the pocket, see his receivers, and make the throws that he's capable of making.
For me, and sticking with the offense, Hunter, and some of the keys of this for me personally, I'd like to see the attempts thrown for Chevin in the 30 to 35 range, at least.
Absolutely.
I think let's take advantage of Chevin's ability to throw the rock. And, for me, I like the quick game. This is, we talk about this offense being the run and gun. Sometimes that quick hitches, those quick outs on the outside, just, some quick slants, some RPO looks, just to get Chevin some rhythm would be monumental in confidence for a guy like Chevin who, relies on rhythm. You look at his previous offenses that he's grown up and playing in. You look at Run and Shoot St. Louis High School. You look at what he's done with Nick Rolovich in the past 2 years. It is a systematic rhythm offense. And if he can get something going in a rhythm where he can be consistent and start going, I think, like you said, I think that opens up a lot of things offensively where you can run the ball, you can throw the ball a little bit more, get some guys in space, get the playmakers the ball, and let him do the work. Let him get the ball in the air a little bit more.
Yeah, and I've seen Chevin check a few things at the line of scrimmage from a blocking standpoint, but I would love to see him be given the reins in the sense of being able to kind of call the shots from an offensive standpoint, changing the plays up a little bit, maybe giving the receivers, some hot routes, something different just to combat whatever he's seeing. If you were doing that and your receivers on the same page, similar to what they were doing in the run and shoot, it's a tremendous advantage from an offensive standpoint. So, yeah, I'm expecting a big bounce back week. We said it earlier, this was his first loss as a starter, and I know that's not sitting well with him right now. So, Chevin's wanting to come out strong. I know he is, and I'm confident he will.
Now on the defensive side, Hunter, I think, like we talked about in our segment again in the early part, talking about how well in the effort with this defense and how they've been playing and how they played against Wyoming. I think it's pretty simple. It's, stay in key. I know you got some thoughts about that, but when you're playing a diverse offense in New Mexico, easier said than done, granted, but I think the game plan this week defensively is just, keep it simple.
I agree. I mean, our defense has been the most consistent element of our team in the last 2 weeks. Great push up front, a lot of hats on the football. A lot of guys, like Darius Muasau that just playing with intentionality, a lot of effort. It's been great to see. And we've been turning the ball over. Every game we've been getting the ball out of the other team's hands, which is just terrific. I think as of this point, I think we've gotten four defensive turnovers in 2 games, if not 3. But I think we're in great shape. And we had a couple injuries. One of the biggest ones was with Eugene Ford, kind of that senior captain safety of ours. I think he's one of our DBs if he's not at safety. But looking for a couple other guys to kind of rise up and play well. One of which Donovan Dalton, one of the other kind of older guys, but saw limited time in the last couple of years. He actually played really well this last week with 9 total tackles and 4 solo just on his own. Looking for guys like that to kind of rise up and play to the level we know they're capable of.
And defensively, I think the backer play is going to be huge in this game, given what we're going to have to face in terms of the diversity of the offense in New Mexico. I think for me, getting after the quarterback a little bit more, because you see when Hawaii puts pressure on some quarterbacks, you saw that in Fresno
Absolutely.
State. You saw it in Wyoming. I'd like to see a little bit more pressure on the quarterback and dial up, take some chances defensively. I know, like I said, it's easier said than done. And Coach Grandma, never question what he's doing. He's doing a fantastic job. I just like, personally, when you put pressure on an offense, there's so much that can go wrong offensively when you're constantly putting pressure to make or at least to force the offense to make plays.
Yeah, you cannot be insecure when defending the triple option. You got to jump on him and jump on him early. Any chance that you can try to force the issue to, make that quarterback question his reads, question, whether to hand it, keep it, pitch it, make him question the things that he has been trained to do. And we're going to have a great day on the defensive side of the football.
Well, let's get to it real quickly before we wrap things up, Hunter. Let's get a prediction. I know we've been doing a prediction. We're 0 for 1, sadly, but that doesn't mean that we can be 1-1 this week. And what's your thoughts, predictions against New Mexico coming up?
I'm optimistic. I'm always going to be hopeful for a Bows win. I think we are going to win, but I actually think it's going to overtime. Games against New Mexico are always gritty. They're always long and well fought right to the last whistle. I think we're winning 34-31.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna go on a limb and kind of flip the script and go opposite of. I always do this anyway,
right.
So don't mind me. I think Hawaii handles business. I really think. I think we're going to see offensively. I think we're going to see some changes. I think defense is going to fly to the ball. I think Hawaii wins 42-24. I think Hawaii will be in control of the game. I think they'll play with a little chip on their shoulder and that sour taste in their mouth that they played against Wyoming. And I think it's kind of personal for them because, against a player, and I'm sure, and people say like, well, players don't pay attention, coaches don't pay. I don't buy that. I think sometimes, you do have these kids are human. And I think there is some noise. There's noise. You hear, well, what happened offensively? Well, the defense was on the field. This and that. I think that plays a role in these players coming out, and I think they're going to make a statement.
Oh, absolutely. We don't necessarily, I'll tell you firsthand, we don't read the newspaper, but at the same time, social media brings the voice straight to your phone. As much as guys try to keep away from that during the season, it just gets to you. It does. And the perception after just looking at the scoreboard from this last week, anytime that you get beat 31-7, it's not good. Not good. You're wanting to come back. You're wanting to make a statement, especially with this being our home opener. These guys are eager to defend Pride Rock this week. I know they are. I can't wait to see them strap it up and get it going tonight.
And I can't either because and not to look ahead for this team because after this, I think if they can come away with a very a big time victory, so to say, a statement type of victory. You got San Diego State on the road, you got Boise State at home, and you got Nevada at home. Those are 3 games, and I don't want to look ahead. I'm not going to look ahead. We got New Mexico, but just looking at that, I think it's critical that this University of Hawaii football team puts a good performance on.
Couldn't agree anymore. It's still all out in front of us. We can play free without any regret or any fear of tomorrow, because it's still our season is yet to be decided. But before we look forward, we got to take care of business. So looking forward to it. It's going to be looking forward to hearing the fans even from home. Let's see if they can hear you down in the stadium.
Yeah, I wish I could be there. I totally wish I could be there, man. But but I'll tell you what, it's going to be great. And, regardless, I think Hawaii will get that place rocking, even though there won't be fans, but I think they'll rock the joint with their play and their hard-nosed football. I'm excited. All right, looking forward to it. Hunter, I am excited. Of course, University of Hawaii football will be playing against New Mexico. Man, let's, like we said, let's get that place rocking for the boys. Not with fans, but the boys play on the field, get them rocking, get them going. Let's see an offensive fireworks show. Let's see a defense that's swarming to the football. And Hunter, if we get things going, I think it's going to be great for this university to continue in the right direction.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm excited for what's ahead. A bounce back opportunity, and we definitely have what it takes. So excited to see it, see what we got against New Mexico. So,
Let's go, Bows. Let's get
go.
it. Of course, you can catch us every week, Hawai'i Football Weekly. We will have all the coverage of University of Hawaii football. Of course, an 8-game season. New Mexico coming up next. But, of course, couldn't do it without my partner, Hunter Hughes. Hunter, of course, very thankful to have you. For everyone at ESPN Honolulu and everyone across the 808, have a great weekend. And, of course, go Bows. You've been listening to Hawai'i Football Weekly on ESPN Honolulu.
Vince Cordero headed for the end zone. Touchdown, Hawaii.
You've been listening to Hawai'i Football Weekly on ESPNHonolulu.com. Check back in every week for a new episode and catch Hawaii football all season long on ESPN Honolulu.